All right. Hello, world. I'm back. Okay. The Wizard of Social Justice. We the people, of the people, for the people, and by the people. We are now presenting Victor Pate, who's going to be running a program at the National Action Network on the 11th. And you want to talk about?
Well, sure. Well, thank you, James, for having me here. But I'd first of all like to commend you on the progress that you've made in making this platform available and also for inviting me to come on. So I'd like to start off with that there. So to mention further what you just mentioned is that I am the chairman of the National Action Network Second Chance Committee, which is a committee that was brought to the National Action Network by myself to assist the people that are formerly incarcerated coming home from prisons to jail to reconnect with the communities and the families and to access services that will be conducive towards their reintegration into community society. I oftentimes do forums, educational and informational, for the purpose of the community and the purpose of informing and educating people and hopefully inspiring people to encourage them to become involved and pay attention to what's happening with the criminal justice system and the different laws and things that have been happening with regards to criminal justice and jails. I have a program coming up next Thursday, which is January 11th, from 7 o'clock to 9 p.m. at the National Action Network House of Justice at 106 West 145th Street in Harlem. And the name of the program...
The Village of Harlem.
The Village of Harlem, yes. Well, excuse me, the Village of Harlem. And the name of the program is going to entitle A Conversation on Criminal Justice Reform. Why criminal justice reform? Well, there's so many things that are happening with regards to laws that are changing and prisons and jails and the things that are happening. Oftentimes, our communities are the least informed. They have least access to the information and they have least access to what's actually happening in our prisons and jails.
Not only are we the most least informed, but we the most affected.
Right, directly affected. So I put on a forum occasionally at the National Action Network for this very same purpose, to educate, inform, inspire, and encourage, and hopefully to get out of this people that will become engaged and involved in the various criminal justice reform campaigns. Now, I myself are a part of a larger group that is called Challenging Incarceration. And Challenging Incarceration includes over 60-something nonprofit criminal justice reform organizations that is comprised of people that are concerned about the conditions of our prisons and jail, in addition to being concerned about the treatment of our people in our prisons and jails. So the purpose of this is to educate people, to give them the information of the various criminal justice reform organizations that are out there, in addition to have people on the panel that have been directly impacted as a result of criminal justice involvement and are now leaders in the criminal justice reform organization. So the people that will be on the panel will be those people, some of them, that are formerly incarcerated but are also leaders in the movement of criminal justice reform, thereby bringing this information sort of like directly from the mouth of the people that have been directly affected. And one of the things that I've learned is that in order for change to happen, you have to have people engaged in the change that the things have happened to. The people that have been most affected are the ones who have been directly impacted, and those are the ones who should be making and sitting at the table when these policies are made. So this particular forum will be addressing the criminal justice reform. It will be addressing the coalitions that are working on various issues with criminal justice reform, and that the people that will be a part of this forum will be those that have been directly impacted. And hopefully by bringing this information to our communities, that we will have them to become engaged, to have them become informed, and most of all, to have them get involved and do something about the system the way it is. So we need to do a lot of work, but we need to inform and we need to educate. Once a person becomes educated and they become informed, then they have a right, and they will have no excuse to say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, how do I do this here? Well, this particular forum will give you all of these tools necessary to become engaged, to become informed, and to become a supporter and an advocate of the rights of people in our prisons and jail. But more importantly, when people come home to get that second chance, which is why my committee is called Second Chance. Because everyone in life needs a second chance. And I definitely am one of those who say, I've had a second chance. So my duty now is to create a platform whereby others can also have a second chance. And I do this by having various forums throughout the year that will create the opportunity for that to happen.
I agree, Victor. I like everything you said. I agree with all of it because we've been many different things together. I am also a member of Challenging Incarceration, and that's where I first met you, and we've been friends ever since then. But I like to take this a little further. I like to do everything just a little bit more. Yes, it has to come from the bottom to the top. Turn it upside down. But we have to get the people organized, mobilized, and motivated, and to get them out there, because especially in this time, we have to see that you can't do this alone. You don't wait till something happens to you and then, want to get involved, because by then it's too late.
Yeah.
If you see something going on, you see something, say something. But I take that a step further too. If you see something, do something.
Yeah,
I agree. What I'm saying? Yeah, because we can't sit back, because like now our sitting back is we're watching things be taken back from us. That we had, like, we got comfortable, too comfortable. But we have to step up, and if we don't do it, who will? And it must be done. And as for the second chance, I for one, I've always said I'm not ashamed of where I've come from, of what I've done. Matter of fact, I don't wear it as like a badge of honor. It's not nothing to be proud of. But I think because of it, I am a better person. And then I will do more and do better because of it, because I understand a different side. And when I first started this, I wanted to try to work my way back to prison, but I see that was very, very hard. So then I lucked up and I got this show. And then so this is my forum now to bring the message to the people, organize, educate, motivate, and everything like that. So anyone that's doing something for the people, by the people, I want to bring them on. I want to get the message out to the people.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, we got to do this together.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the most important things that you just touched on, especially when you're talking about getting the information out, to having that platform to utilize and to amplify those issues and those voices and stuff like that. I think that's most important, because a lot of times people don't know. And when they don't know, it sort of like gives them a reason for them not to do something, because they say they don't know. Not that it gives them a pass, because I think that everybody has some level of obligation to find out. You just can't sit back and say, oh, I don't know. But there's so much information out there that you can easily find out if you was motivated. So I think that a platform like yours, it's a tool to be utilized.
Yes, it is.
Create.
It is. It's a tool, but you have to use it wisely.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to abuse it. Let's say it has to be used wisely, and I must make sure of that, and I must do that.
And you are doing it. And I, like I said, I'd like to commend you again. And like you say, we met through the challenging incarceration. Actually, at its inception, when they was actually just putting the challenging incarceration coalition
Yes.
together, which, as you and I were speaking previously, how it came out of an annual event that happens, which is happening March the 1st through March the 4th at Columbia University, and it's called Beyond the Bars. And it's an annual conference that is put on by Columbia University that brings together advocates, coalitions, organizations, and people, community groups that are all working on different issues that directly affect the community and or the people that are part of this community. But as a result of that 2015 Beyond the Bars conference, a lot of us that were actually a part of that, because we do different workshops, we have different panel discussion, we do film screenings. We sat back and we said, well, it's like 40-something odd organizations and advocates coming from all around the country and stuff and we're all addressing criminal justice issues. But unfortunately, we were all working separately in silos and in Bible.
In a bubble.
There you go.
In a bubble. And my thing was always, we need to burst that bubble or link them all up. Link them all up, and how effective and efficient we could be. And I see that coming. Yeah.
And you see what happened as a result of that. The challenging incarceration grew out of that annual Beyond the Bars conference, because we all talked to one another. And as a result, we followed up, we stayed in touch with one another, and eventually we were able to come together through a series of meetings, and eventually we came out with the Challenging Incarceration Coalition, which you are part of.
Yeah, and now, I just look on the phone, I see when someone's doing something, if I have free time or if I can get to it, we can all be there, and we're amplifying each other. We're
lifting it up.
Yes,
and I think it's important.
Bringing more boots to the field.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because like
it
I
has
said,
to be.
in this time, in this climate of things, James, you and I both know that we have to come together. We have to coalesce in some type of shape, form, and fashion, and form a fist. You know what I'm saying? A fist is more stronger than a finger is by itself. And I think that because of the fact that we are where we are systemically, especially how it directly affects the communities of color more so than anything else, with mass incarcerated at 2.2 to 2.3 million people in our prisons and jails, okay? When you have people being held, 4,000 some odd people being held in solitary confinement alone, and it is considered torture. Anybody that's held in solitary confinement past 15 days is considered torture.
Yes.
These are the type of things that our communities and our people should really pay attention to, because you have to look at that. People that go to prison, okay, for whatever reason they might have went through, at one point there has come a transformation period when that person is no longer that person that they were when they first come in. When you having juveniles in our adult prisons being kept in adult prisons and being given life sentences without parole, when you have people that are coming out and not being able to find a place to stay, not being able to get employment because they have the stigma of being formerly incarcerated, felon, et cetera, and being marginalized further, being kept out of an opportunity, then there's something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. So that means that we need to start looking at the state and condition of our prisons and jails, amongst the many other things that we are dealing with in our lives and in our community and in the world at large. But I think that this situation that we have going on with our prisons and jails is really past the point of tolerable, past the point of inhumanity.
Way past.
And there needs to be something that needs to be done. So I myself, as an advocate, I try to do everything that I possibly can to bring information and education to our communities whenever it's possible, to give them the information as to what's happening in our prisons and jails, and also to bring the people that have been directly impacted to the forefront so that they can see these people are not the same people that they might have been 20 or 30 years ago, and that people do change and people do transform their lives. But in order for that to happen, they need to have an opportunity. They need a second chance. Hence, the Second Chance Committee.
All right. Sounds like a beautiful thing. So, what do you expect mostly? What are you trying to get out of this?
One of my whole purpose of this doing this here is first and foremost is education. I guess to wake up the people, and inform them and give them the reality of what happens in our prisons and jails to people, the negative effects of it, because allegedly jails are supposed to be for correction. But you and I both know that's not what the jails and prisons do. It's more of a punishment paradigm as opposed to a correction paradigm. And what's happening in our prisons and jails, unfortunately, our people and our communities are just not informed because there's nobody telling them. Or they don't get access to the information as to what's happening. So I think that it is my duty and it's my obligation to make sure that this information gets to the people, number one, and they become informed. But yeah, I want them to become angry to the point that they will do something to think that their people are being treated the way that they are being treated in our prisons and jail. So hopefully that coming out of this forum, this panel discussion, that people will become enraged so that they will become engaged. So I have a multi-pronged purpose for putting on.
Enraged to be engaged.
There you go.
I like that.
So
I like that.
I want the people to, to be educated, you know what I'm saying? And I want them to become inspired, and I want them to become informed, and I want them to become aware. Because like I say, you can do something about something when you become informed of something. Because if you don't have the information, that means you don't know how to do anything about the situation. So I think that people need to know what you need to do. You have loved ones that are in our prisons and jails. Things are happening to people. I mean, I have people calling me up here telling me, oh, something happened to this person. Who do I call? Well, one of the reasons that we do these forums so we can give you this information. So if you have a loved one that's in one of these prisons and jails all the way up in the boondocks somewhere and something happened, they become incommunicado. You don't know exactly who to call. You don't know exactly what agency to contact, what organization that you can touch base with, that you can be connected with, that can help you get the information that you need to advocate for their rights, because a lot of times they're not able to advocate for their own. So they need us, the people, the family, the community, the loved ones, to know where this information is. What can they do when something happens? How do they get this information? So this is what I hope to accomplish out of this particular forum, to be able to give people this information so that they can become educated and informed.
That's beautiful, because more times than not, what happens is we don't care till it affects us.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's almost too late.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? By the time you get the information, you can't do anything.
You can't do anything with it.
But if you have a outlet to go to, someone to call, you can get timely.
Yeah, you can get timely. Yeah, and I think that just speaking to that, it brings back to mind to me something that happened to a very good friend of mine's. A relative of theirs was in one of the New York State prisons and jails, and I don't know. They somewhat were familiar with the work I did, but they sort of like had not been in touch with me, so they didn't know how connected I was, like how many people I actually knew that would have been able to hopefully help them. Make a long story short, their relative was sick to the point that he was terminal. And he had been incarcerated for so long, and as you and I both know, healthcare in the prisons is just non-existent, and it's the worst thing in the world for a person to get sick and can't get the appropriate care that they need to address their health problems, which is oftentimes what happened in our prisons and jail. Their relative had gotten sick to the point that he was terminal. By the time they reached out to me and asked me, they were trying to get compassionate release, which is another thing that's not utilized enough. People are held in prisons for long periods of time, almost to the point of where they're dying, or to the point where their health is deteriorating to the point they become terminal. He was terminal. They were trying to work on getting compassionate release for him. They did not know what the process was. They did not know who to call. So by the time their family finally got to me and asked me, say, hey, Victor, listen, we got such and such, our brother's in prison, he's terminal now. We're trying to apply for compassionate release. And I said to them, I said, well, how come you didn't come to me a long time ago? How come you didn't let me know what his status was a long time ago? I'm quite sure I could have connected with people that at least the process would have been already started. Well, I was able to coordinate a meeting with a person that was an executive director of an organization that had direct access to the commissioner of the New York State Department of Corrections. Okay? He had direct access and direct line to that particular commissioner who can help that process along. What happened? I was able to navigate the meeting. They had the meeting with the executive director. He found out what the issue was. He made a call to the commissioner. They had begun the process for him to get the compassionate release. 3 days later, I get a phone call from him. He passed away. So those are the type of things that, I hope to be able to avoid, you know what I'm saying, or to be able to help somebody with, that if they have an issue with one of their loved ones being in prison, whether it be a health issue, whether it be a safety issue. A lot of times people, they move people around like a piece on a chessboard. They can't find their relatives. They don't find out until they go to the facility to visit, and then they find out after they took a 7-hour ride that the relative is not there. So they don't know who to call, what to do. So this type of forum creates information and sharing whereby they will know what to do, who to call, because we'll have all type of literature and information available for you, so you'll know who to call within the Department of Corrections, state and local jails. So this is the reasons and purpose of me to be able to do these forums, so that people will have this information and they can find out about their loved ones, or hopefully, God forbid, they don't wind up in a situation, but if they do, they'll at least know what to do.
Then they'll really want to call you. Okay. I just want to tell the people about our history, because to some of the people that we were also on Senator Perkins' Criminal Justice Task Force in Albany. And I got on there from you, and you said you wanted something. I said, I'll do it. But it was a beautiful thing, and I got to meet the senator, who's always be
who's now a councilman.
Well, who's now a councilman, by the way. But I see him when I'm on 125th Street mostly all the time. And but it's just the kind of things that I like to do. I like to meet people, network, branch out, and then, because you never know. And I think it's a good thing. And as I said, it's like my criminal history is like anything I do will be because of it. But I think more people should stop being scared of what they did, and stop being, it's like some people would, when they go for a job, oh, should I tell the truth? I always tell the truth. If you don't want me, well, it wasn't meant for me to be. But, and I feel because that's where the largest population of black males are. And I'm thinking of the future. It's, that's a power base. You see what I'm saying? Because once you get out and you're off parole and things like that, in most states, you have the right to vote, and you can become active again. And if we can organize that base, it's something that I've always thought of, and we can just, from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, and that and what you speak to is about the transformative justice part, and especially when you talk about people being able to have the right to vote again. In New York State, unfortunately, if you're on parole or probation, you can't vote, okay, until you finish parole or probation.
But I've run into people, because I was at Akeem Browder when he was going for the Green Party mayor.
Right.
I went and was getting signatures for him in Brooklyn, and I came across people that were off parole, they finished the time and everything like that, but they still felt that they couldn't vote.
Because they didn't know.
Yes. And I said, people still believe that.
And that's one of the other forums that I did too, voting rights for the formerly incarcerated. And like I say, you know, my forums, like I say, it's educational and informational, and I do various forums. I've even did forums on the death penalty. So I do different forums on different information. But like I say, the information that needs to be gotten to our people, it needs to happen more. And you spoke to about amplifying, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Echoing and getting the information out there, because a lot of times people don't know. And like you point out so frequently that, you know, until something happens to you, you know what I'm saying, you don't know. Or you don't do anything.
And I just want to make this point clear, because you have a felony, as long as you're not on parole or probation and you did your time, you can vote. So please, we need you to be voting right now.
Definitely. And just think, if you had voter education in our jails, like people don't know that prior to you, if you're in pretrial detention, you can vote. You can even vote in absentee, but they don't tell you that.
Yeah.
So people on Rikers Island, pretrial detention detainees can vote in absentee, but they don't tell them that.
You know, and I think they wouldn't be making it too easy for that process to happen.
Of course they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I used to work in the law library. We had tons of voters registration application forms. That's right. I worked in the law library on Rikers Island, and I had tons of vote. They had them there, but nobody was using them because nobody was telling them that you can vote by absentee.
Victor, I want to thank you for coming.
And thank you
It's
for
been a
having
pleasure.
me.
Anytime. And I'd like to also take the time now to invite you back to tell us how you went. You told us what you're looking for, what you're trying to get from it. I'll also be there, matter of fact.
I sure hope so.
And I want you to come back and say, you know, what you got out of it, what happened, and stuff like that.
And let me just give you one more thing so that you'll have it. So Victor Pate, Second Chance Committee, provide my email is V as in Victor, P as in Paul, 1, Second Chance Committee @gmail.com.
Okay.
That's my email. And you can email me, or anybody can email me, audience, whatever, if you want to find out more information or even want to get engaged in the Second Chance Committee and the work that we're doing. Be my guest, VP1, Second Chance Committee @gmail.com. I'm the chairperson of the Second Chance Committee, New York City chapter of the National Action Network. And it's been my pleasure to be here with you, and I thank you, and I do hope to come back again, and I wish you much success in your continued shows.
Well, thank you very much.